This is it, everyone. After spending many months determining which games in the Soulsborne franchise can be traversed without fast traveling, we are at the last, but certainly not least, game of the series, Bloodborne. It's a game that comes not long after the magnum opus of exploration for the series, Dark Souls 1, but also acts as a sort of transition into what becomes Dark Souls 3, a very infamously linear game compared to anything prior, and you can certainly tell when you look at certain aspects of Bloodborne. So, will this turn out to be of help or a hindrance for this run? Can you beat Bloodborne in its entirety without fast traveling? The main rule will be that I can't warp via the lamps and the awakening headstones in the Hunter's Dream, as this is the main method of fast travel in this game, which already poses a problem for this run. Why is that, you ask? Well, do you recall what happens when you die for the first time in this game? Yep, you immediately get warped to the Hunter's Dream. The scripted death warp to the dream in itself is fine. The problem lies in that once we're in the dream, we are forced to fast travel if we wish to make our way back to Yharnam, which is out of the question. Given you do start in Yharnam when you first make your character, it does give hope that there is a chance to complete the game without fast travel. But you know what this means, right? It means I can't use resources inside the Hunter's Dream. So no messenger bath shops, no Kara runes, no blood gems, no weapon upgrading, no leveling, and the last nail in the coffin, I can't die. If I die, I have to start from the beginning with a new character, which I will be doing legitimately, instead of making save files or something. Just as extra salt in the wound, slight spoilers, but there's also no gun I can pick up in the overworld, so throw in no parrying on top of that as well. And just as an additional rule, given this is a traversal run, I won't allow myself to use either of the Hunter's Marks at all, and so I can't abuse them to skip lamps and then get back anywhere I want via the marks. I need to backtrack on foot anywhere I go. When I pitched this series idea in the first video, I stated that the primary focus of this series is to spotlight the other major aspect of these games that don't get much time to shine in your standard challenge runs, the exploration. And while I'll also be discussing level design and places that I can't go if I have no means of backtracking without fast travel, it certainly is ironic that what started out as a more lighthearted series to appreciate a certain aspect of these games became the most difficult challenge run I've ever had to do in my life. Wish me luck. For starting class, I picked the Lone Survivor, as that's the class with the highest vitality, to ideally help me survive, given I can't increase my health further and only marginally increase defenses with different armor sets. The attacking stats aren't too bad either. Thankfully, this class mostly minimizes Blood Tinge and Arcane, which are completely useless for me in this run. Actually starting up the game, I first wanted to see how easy it would be to kill this werewolf with a backstab, which at first glance didn't seem reliable, though I wouldn't be surprised if he could get a consistent backstab setup from the back here. The main reason I was curious was to squeeze out those few extra blood vials, as any extra resources I can collect during the run can certainly go a long way. So I did pick up any vials that were safe along the way, as well as other helpful items, like Molotov cocktails. Since we're in the topic of items, the name of the game for this run will be the attack buffs. Every single buff we can take advantage of in this run will be priceless, as that's our only way to increase damage in any significant way, meaning that fire paper, bold paper, and beast blood pellets are the kind of things that I'll go out of my way for, as long as it's relatively safe to grab. While I'm running by the first lamp, I'll say that technically there's no rule against grabbing lamps, but since I can die anyway, I won't be using the Hunter's Marks, and obviously I can't take them to the dream, there's no real advantage to it either, so I'll simply be ignoring them. I mostly ran by this main town square segment since it's too dangerous to try and loot anything, especially without a weapon. And yes, in case you haven't noticed yet, since I haven't gone to the dream, I don't have access to the saw cleaver, threaded cane, or hunter's axe, so I am weaponless for the time being. I skipped going to the Great Bridge segment, and with this handy shortcut here, went down to the town sewers, I guess they would be, where I knocked this body from their chain. I went to grab it, and accidentally dropped further down than I meant to, taking a lot of fall damage, and also landing right next to some rats, who managed to knock me down further, and nearly killing me in general. But I was able to make a retreat there, thankfully. So noted, don't do that. I went back up to get the item I knocked down. It turned out to be bloodstone shards, which wasn't what I was looking for, and now the rats were blocking this path, so I had to quit out to reset them. Now I went all the way back up again, and knocked down the other chain. You may have taken the hint if you know what's in these chained bodies, but if you're still worried about the weapon situation, we can pick up the saw spear here in Yharnam, which will work just as well as the saw cleaver would. even though we can upgrade it. Technically, that also means we can switch to any other weapon we pick up as long as we can wield it, but our options are unbelievably limited. I'll discuss the very few we do have when they're accessible to us. Maybe certain weapons will serve us in certain situations. But yeah, I finally have a way to do damage. I went onward from there and went to get the main level shortcut, where I instantly almost died again to these ogre enemies, but managed to stay alive. So we're not even out of Yharnam, and already we find our first obstacle. Because we can't go to the Hunter's Dream, killing the cleric beast is pointless because we won't be able to buy the Hunter's Chief Emblem to open the gate in Cathedral Ward. So now our only option is to go through Old Yharnam and kill Bloodstarved Beast, meaning we do have to go through Gascoigne first. Thankfully, I'm pretty much fighting him at the level you normally do, so it's not a spike in difficulty, at least not more than normal. But I did decide to get plenty of resources to make the fight go smoothly, meaning I got as many Molotov cocktails as I can, and of course, I got the music box early as well. So after a fairly smooth fight, I got Gascoigne, our first major milestone. I went straight to Cathedral Ward, of course, but we won't be here for long. As mentioned, we can't open the main gate, so the only noteworthy thing we can do was pick up the Hunter's Garb for better defenses, and then we'll immediately have to go to Old Yharnam to proceed. I did talk to Alfred first real quick, because he gives you 3 free fire papers, which will be invaluable soon. At the entrance of Old Yharnam, I picked up these antidotes and pungent cocktails. They will help a lot for Bloodstarved Beast specifically. Once in the level proper, in order to minimize the risk of dying at any point in Old Yharnam, I did pretty much run through the machine gun segment, which might sound counterintuitive, but as long as you're consistent you can go right through. In one of the parts where you run through, we actually have one of the few weapons you can pick up in the overworld, being the Rifle Spear, which I'm showing now in a separate character here. This weapon would actually be nice because it gives us the capability to parry, but unfortunately, none of the starter classes at our disposal have enough strength, skill, and blood tinge simultaneously to be able to wield it. And of course we can't level them. So one of the rare weapons in the overworld, we can't even wield. Great. And unfortunately in Bloodborne, you can't even equip weapons you can't wield. So moving forward then. There's a good bulk of blood vials here before the last segment of Old Yharnam, pretty much right there on the way. You bet I'll be getting those every time. Not long after, and more importantly, we get our first batch of beast blood pellets, which increase your damage considerably the more you build up your beast meter, but also increases damage you take. So it'd be a good consumable for us, but one we have to use carefully due to the increased damage. From there, there's nothing else I need, so straight to Bloodstarved it is. I primarily did the safety strategy where you throw pungent cocktails at a wall and backstab it after popping a beast blood pellet. I'm a little rusty at the strat, so I didn't maximize it as much as I could have. You can pretty much kill the beast with like 2 or 3 cocktails with the same blood pellet, but I ended up running out of cocktails and had to play it safe, including getting poisoned towards the end, which is why I did get the antidotes early in the Old Yharnam, just in case I need it, instead of burning through blood vials until I can get the ones in this room. But yeah, I beat Bloodstarved. This is the part of the video where you are reminded that this is a no fast travel run at its core, so now instead of taking the lamp back to the dream, we have to go all the way back to Cathedral Ward from here. Thankfully, there is a major shortcut that takes you back to the beginning of the level. No doubt this isn't quite what they expected to use this for, but I certainly won't complain myself. There's so much danger in this level with Jorah still around, which might be another big reason they added the shortcut, in case you didn't kill Jorah, outside of the normal convenience to run back to the boss if you die to it. It's not long before we are back in Cathedral Ward. When you reach the safe haven area, we can now see that this door is open, which is where you need to go to progress. There isn't anything above here in the Healing Church workshop that I need, so I simply dropped down below this pit. I killed this werewolf for safety. I wasn't sure if it could follow me or be a problem, although it seemed to be more interested in these bags of sand, I guess. Now there's only a short run until we reach the other side of this gate in Cathedral Ward. I immediately went to get the numbing mist, just in case I need them for Amelia, then pulled the gate lever. There's another big batch of blood vials here, so I got those as well, and then I ran straight to Amelia. Before we do that fight though, since this is still a no fast travel video, I want to discuss the world interconnectivity, but don't want to take any unnecessary risks in the actual Deathless run attempts. So I will be discussing optional areas like Hemlock Channel Lane briefly in a separate character without the pressure of Deathless. It'll be a short reprieve every once in a while. Hemlock is a pretty linear level with manageable verticality, meaning there's no like geometry where you're forced to drop down and then you can't climb back up from where you came from. Even if there was, there's a few shortcuts in the level, so you could go ahead and kill the Witches of Hemwick as long as you survive the whole time, then you can stroll all the way back to Cathedral Ward with no issue. I guess since it's right here in Hemwick, this is also a good opportunity to talk about an area that's connected to it, being Canehurst Castle. As you probably recall, You have to be taken to Canehurst via the ghost horse wagon thing, which technically wouldn't be prohibited, and generally allows scripted warps, but just as the hunters stream, the real issue is returning to Yharnam from there. The horses die as soon as you arrive, or maybe they weren't really there to begin with, and there's no way to get back to Yharnam from there. So in the theoretical no fast travel run, where I also explore a few of the optional paths, even Canehurst Castle wouldn't be accessible to us. But yeah, that's it for our optional paths. Let's head back to our actual run character and fight Amelia. I popped a Beast Blood pellet, then after the cutscene I applied Fire Paper. I tried to go for the speedrun / no hit run strat, where you try to essentially keep her stun locked for your entire fight by breaking her limbs, which even though I hadn't done in a long time, was going pretty well. Until I got caught a little by her swings, and died. Of course, meaning I got warped straight to the hunter's stream, trapping me here for the purposes of our video. Oopsie. Okay, time for our first reset, which honestly took longer than I expected, given how many close calls we had. Now, if you're concerned this is going to get repetitive, fear not. What I will be doing for this video is once we reach a new milestone, I'll mostly discuss the next run that reaches that point and onward, only mentioning minor things here and there before that, if say something funny or interesting happens in a prior segment of the game in a run. This way this video always has a sense of progression. Trust me, if I did try to recap all my attempts, this will be a frustratingly long video, probably boring to some degree too, and would require me to cover, well, I won't say how many hours of footage I have. You'll get a good idea of how long this took by the timer at the bottom, which will be the cumulative hours I did attempts for, not just per run. Speaking of funny deaths, in run 2 I got stuck on this werewolf after Bloodstar Beast, and ended up dying there. Good start. On run 3, I did get back to Amelia without much issue, but for whatever stupid reason, I decided to try and kill her without using any buffs. I guess my thought process was to save resources, but I just ended up dying anyway. That was really silly of me. Once again, speaking of funny deaths, in run 4, I guess I thought I could survive skipping this ladder after getting the music box. Maybe if I had full HP I could have, but... In run 5 I had a similar situation to 2, and got caught between this doctor guy and he killed me, right before Amelia, so that one hurt a little bit more. I won't cover every single run death, but I figured this paints a good picture of both the hilarity and also the pain of doing these runs early on. Finally on run 6, I get back to Amelia once again. This time I did apply the buffs and went for the stun lock strat again. I didn't do it super cleanly or anything. I ended up needing to rebuff towards the end of the fight, but I did manage to actually kill Amelia this time, meaning we reached a new milestone for the video. Now we can proceed deeper into the game, next up being the Forbidden Woods. I opened this little shortcut, then went straight to the woods. Due to the danger of all the mobs in some segments, I pretty much ran straight through, only picking up a few of the items along the way, like these Beast Blood pellets and these blood vials. In the second segment of the woods, I was very careful going past the snake guy, but after that I didn't need anything. It was mostly a safe run. You just need to follow this brick road, and be extra careful with these pigs at the end. But after that, we're at the Shadows of Yharnam. Now Shadows of Yharnam are in an interesting middle ground here, because my normal damage is undoubtedly low, but the buffs do make up for it. I do take more damage due to Beast Blood pellets, lowering defenses, but I still don't get one shot, and thankfully I do have a lot of experience with this boss, which you can control more than you'd expect when you understand them. It's certainly a dance of being aggressive enough to build up your beast meter, but you can't overcommit if you are surrounded, or it's over for you. All this to say that I'm pretty prepared for this fight, but this is obviously one of the first genuine walls of the game, and I did get got decently early on anyway, unfortunately. I knew what I was in for, so it wasn't the worst, but it still is about an hour of time burnt to get to the shadows. So this is our new roadblock. In run 7 I had my first death at Bloodstarved, and I think possibly the only one. It's generally a free fight if you play it right with the cocktail. And then the next run I had possibly the earliest death in the entire video, being against the first werewolf after opening this door. Run 9 made it past Amelia once again, but unfortunately I didn't make it to shadows, as I died here, because I didn't know this enemy from around the corner would target me. These kinds of deaths definitely sting, when you don't even die to a tough boss, but on the way to it due to a dumb mistake or something you didn't see coming, much more so if you had no way of knowing. Run 10 was another silly one. I was trying to run around these doctor guys, so I went up this ladder, near the numbing mist, was going to go around but I got clipped anyway. Fuck my life. Funnily enough, this is when the profile filled up with characters, so I'd have to start deleting them from now on. But I did call it that day. This was all only day 1 of this journey for me. Run 11 was my first death at Gascoigne. Just got caught by that werewolf face, classic. And then I finally made it to shadows again in run 12. I didn't immediately pop buffs this time. I waited until there was a better opening after I separated them a little bit to be able to build the beast meter better. I always focus on the normal melee katana shadow first, which is a strategy that most, for the lack of a better term, professional runs do. I managed to get them to phase 2, where I popped another pellet to punish as they transform, but now I'm in more danger due to the shadow's stretchy arm attacks, which have an annoyingly long range, so I had to play doubly careful. Unfortunately, I was put in a corner where my options were limited, and I did end up dying to said stretchy arm attack. Thankfully, the next run made it all the way to shadows again, so I had another chance right away. If you count an hour later as right away. Not so thankfully, I died before even phase 2, so... In run 14 I did get past Emilia once again, where on the way I got this bug in the entrance of Forbidden Woods. Yep. I'm honestly surprised this is the first time it happened, given the no fast travel aspect of this. The map probably doesn't get loaded as it normally does when you travel back to the dream or simply die at all. Thankfully, again, this run also made it to shadows, so I guess I was locking in a bit more that day. Or maybe I'm getting better? I'm learning? Crazy concept, I know. This fight I did buff immediately to okay results, and without taking unnecessary damage. From there I just played it incredibly safe. Around half health of the sword one, I popped another beast lapel and went a little aggressive, the idea being that I would build up a bit of beast meter for when the phase transitions. I think theoretically with good luck and smart plays, you could kill the first shadows like that, especially if you get a backstab, but they still had decent amount of health by the time I had to play defensively again, in phase 2. It took a little while until I finally defeated the first shadow, I guess technically being a new milestone. As you might expect, this does reduce the difficulty somewhat, but I can't get too comfortable quite yet, due to the fire sword's stretchy arm, and some of the fireballs when they land on the ground can do more damage than expected. You definitely don't want to get caught with those while running for a counter hit. My next target is that fireball casting one. I did pop another pellet, and was able to speed up the fight a good amount more than the prior shadow kill. So not long after, I did knock out the second one. If you're wondering why I picked the order that I did, the way I take out this last one should give you a good idea. Yeah. The only thing you have to be careful of when you have the last one left is that you have to be close enough to it as you kill the second one, as if it's in range, it will cast the snake attack, which can get ugly very fast. But otherwise this is free. So yeah, after more than 6 hours of gameplay, I beat Shadows of Yarna for the first time. Only took around 10 minutes for this attempt. Before going to Bergenworth properly, I did realize that I'm super low on blood vials, so I went back real quick to farm for them, and... yeah, I know. Imagine how I felt. Actually, you don't have to imagine. I can just show you. No. So yeah, reset it is. I hope that's helping paint a picture of what makes this run so difficult. It's not like other challenge runs where you can retry things immediately, and you have a safe spot of some sort. No matter how far I get, one slip up, and we start from the very beginning. It's much like speedruns and no-hit runs in that regard, but take it as someone who's done both to some degree. At least for those, you generally have means of becoming overpowered to minimize risk, where my weapon's utility and my low health start to hurt the deeper I go into the game. Anyway, thankfully by this point, I started to pinpoint reliable strats for navigating the world. So I actually made it back to Shadows again in the immediate next run, and beat them again. So thankfully for my sanity, I didn't fuck up too badly. Unfortunately, I do still need to get blood vials back, because I literally burned through all of them. I was a lot more careful with the pig now, killed them for the load of bow drops, but even after exhausting my options in this lower segment of Forbidden Woods, I was still low. So I decided to take a trip back with the shortcuts in the Forbidden Woods, back to Cathedral Ward, and made a pit stop back to Yarna to farm. I know it must seem slow and a waste of time, but I'd certainly rather take this strategy and time to farm than to die because I ran out of blood vials during the boss fight. Farming in Yarnum is certainly purposeful, since the enemies here are at the least dangerous to me, but given my character is practically the exact same level I was when I was first here, I still need to be careful. After I've topped off, I made my way back to Cathedral Ward, then the woods with the shortcuts again, being mindful of the snake guy again, and finally, I was at Bergenworth. Now, this area might be the smallest in the entire game, and there's nothing I need, so I just slowly made my way, sneaking through enemies. The only item I picked up was this key that I need to reach Rom. I was mindful of this hunter and their Call Beyond spell, which I was prepared to quit off for if they casted it. So from here, I am ready for Rom, and oh man, I think I put it pretty succinctly in my live commentary. I think this is just gonna be an endurance fight. I don't do enough damage to take out anyone too fast, so just safe all the way. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. So yeah, the only real safe strat here is to first kill all the spiders, which even that in itself is super slow and requires me to pick them out when one is far away so I don't get bodied from behind. Only then I can wail on Rom until it disappears. That's fairly simple for the first phase, but during the second one, Rom starts shooting me with meteors too, so I have to listen very carefully for the auto cues of when Rom rears up as I kill spiders. Even when I finish them off, Rom also can defend themselves, so I have to be careful there too. It's pretty much the same during the last phase, except Rom can now do some melee attacks, which are both good and bad. These more common melee attacks don't one-shot me, though it does result in me getting smacked more often, since it just comes out of nowhere sometimes, burning through my heals more in this last phase than the other two, if I'm not careful. But I wouldn't want to test my luck with the explosion, let's say, or be changed by the meteors from the sky. I did play well, and with that I did manage to kill Rom on my first attempt. I don't know if you kept tabs on the time, but this fight took 22 minutes. This doesn't bode well. This one simultaneously made me appreciate and hate Rom more. Appreciation because, as you saw, as long as you play it safely, there's a good chance you'll make it, even with a run like this where you have nearly nothing going for you. Hate because this is fucking Bloodborne and the idea of playing slow and safe is almost antithetical to the whole conditioning of the game. Like, to me, I think it made me realize why Rom is such a bad boss. It just doesn't fit in this kind of game. And for this run, I don't have much more means to increase the damage as I did for this fight. Even if I buff, it would be marginal help, and I'd risk dying more with the Beast Meter defense debuff. Anyway, now we got warped to Cathedral Ward, and we're ready to go into Yahar'gul. Well, not quite. Since I am once again low on blood vials, I do have to backtrack the farm once again. Thankfully, this orb from the Blood Moon does leave you at the ward instead of the forest, so I can quickly go to Yarmur now and farm there. After I got the 20, I made my way back to Cathedral, snuck by these hunters, and then these big guys, and then made it properly to Yahar'gul. This level is undoubtedly incredibly dangerous, and my damage is not going to help clearing enemies at this point, so I pretty much blasted right through, only picking up a few things like this bold paper here. Thankfully I do have spearrun experience in this game, so I could make it to the first lamp area, although I had this close call. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I hated that. I didn't need that in my life. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Before proceeding deeper into Yahar'gul and One Reborn, that last area crossed is where you get the upper cathedral key, so it'd be a good moment to talk about that. Heading into the Healing Church workshop is fine. We already do that in this run, but just drop immediately. And the upper cathedral ward level itself is just one big room that needs to have doors open and stuff, usually functioning as shortcuts, so nothing noteworthy requires drop downs. You can fight celestial emissaries safely. But what comes after, well, yeah. This is the type of drop down I've been referring to this whole time. If I drop down here, I have no way of returning back above unless I warp via lamp, use Hunter's Mark, or die. But obviously deaths in this video are fatal for this run as a whole, so Abriatas is entirely a no-no. Since we're in Yahar'gul, I also want to address Apollyon Jail and Darkbeast Spiral. The idea of dying to a Snatcher during this run came up one time, and even though it's completely unrelated to anything we're doing in this run, I was curious, so I went ahead and tested dying to a Snatcher while Deathless in a mock run, curious to see whether I would be kidnapped or be sent to the dream first. And it was the latter, meaning that you can't even theoretically do Paro in a no fast travel run, at least during the Apollyon Jail segment. Nothing is stopping me from being able to do Paro now, after Yahar'gul is open, and you would just loop back to Old Yharnam, at least in this run where you're forced to do Blood-Starved. I would rather die than doing that. Sorry to disappoint. I'll flagellate myself 100 times. I was curious if it still would kidnap me after this, so I went back to the Snatcher and died again, and it put me back in the dream. I assume because the doll is awake now. So I did it one more time, and that time it did send me to Apollyon Jail. So there you go, for the 2.4 people who are curious about this. Anyway, on to the last segment of Yahar'gul. I did get shot in the back while traversing this segment, so a little deeper in I quit out, and then... Remember when I said that dying in areas stung more than bosses sometimes? Yeah, this one I recall vividly, and I can still feel the pain. Predictably, that's where I called it that day as well. Unfortunately for me, this is the part of the video where I enter the century of humiliation, because I really struggled from here on out. And the next day of recording, I didn't even make it to ROM. By ROM 22, I made it to Shadows a few times and had died every time. But in this run, I had my first death to this. Yep. It was about time. You can see what I mentioned it before, I hope. The run immediately after I did actually beat Shadows, but as I was going back to farm a few heals, this happened. What the? Why? Why? I was right fucking in front of you. Are you serious? What the? What the fuck is wrong with you? God fucking damn it. If you're wondering what happened, this is the point in the run where I realized that if I run past the man-eater pigs and it roars, and the game isn't reset from then on by a death, warp, or quit out, the man-eater pig isn't required to roar again before attacking. And when you're further away, it will usually default to charging at you. So yeah, safe to say I learned to quit after that if I was going to backtrack after beating Shadows. The next run was the last and I just died to Shadows, so I called it there. What would be day 4 of recording, I actually did make it to ROM, but I did have a misfortune. Turns out, if you take a counter hit from these rocks, it does a lot of damage. I had been rolling during this attack to ideally avoid the rocks from below me, just assuming they would spawn below me, but it proved to be my undoing. That was actually where I called it that day. It was a short one for recording, but on day 5 and run 30, I finally beat ROM again and started making my way through Yahoo. Once I made it to that one area where I died last time, I carefully considered whether I should use a blue elixir, as obviously I'll be limited by the ones I can find in the world, and decided it was worth using. I went to the left side this time, forgetting that there was these 2 dogs that unfortunately I kinda have to get close enough to aggro to me. This last one attacks and tracks me until it hits me, because of course. Then I get hit by a bullet, and then finished off by the same dog. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? So in this case, I just kept running as I didn't think the dog would recover in time to hit me again, which I think would have been true, but the bullet slowed me down enough to where I got comboed by the other. I certainly should have rolled in this case, but I'm not sure I would have changed the outcome anyway. Really, it was just a shitstorm of bad luck that stacked here. So unfortunately, the humiliation continues. In day 6, I actually had a run that killed ROM once again, fairly quickly after. Although for this one, after I restocked on vials and stuff, I actually called it a day mid-run, so I could come back to hard goal with a fresh mindset. So I came back in day 7, my dumbass accidentally put +1 in the counter, because I forgot I stopped mid-run, but it's the same character. And then guess what happened barely 2 minutes in? No. Oh my god, dude. So much for coming in with a fresh head and stuff. On day 8, I made it past ROM one more time, then to hard goal, and yeah, I finally made a distance personal best and crossed that stupid room in Yargul. Thank God. Thank Ebrietas? I don't know, I don't care. There's certainly a lot of scary little places here still to go before One Reborn. So from here I just kind of abuse quitting out to reset enemies. I'm certainly way past the point where I want to take any risks. For this last nightmare room, I did blue elixir, only have to be careful of this last casket, and after a bit I did my last quit out, meaning I was safe to do One Reborn. Enthusiasm rejuvenated, I went into the room. Now I will admit, I didn't quite go in with a solid plan per se. My loose plan was that I was going to just run around in circles avoiding his corpse drops while whacking at him when I find an opening. Just one point of reference for me is that I have done a fist only run of this game before, which honestly isn't as bad as it sounds for the most part. And I'm pretty sure I first tried this boss even if it took a long time, so I wasn't too concerned. First thing I did was run around and kill the build maintenance in the balcony of course, which took a little while but I did do it without much issue. Now as you can probably sense, this is where the problems arise. As expected, this is essentially a fight of attrition. I have to find openings to attack One Reborn and kill it before I run out of vials, similar to ROM, so it shouldn't be much harder, right? Well, said openings to attack that are safe are incredibly rare, with One Reborn's legs surrounding all the body. And as you can also guess, my damage is pitiful. Now if I could avoid damage altogether, it'd be no issue. But it turns out that the corpses it sometimes launches at you can be a little spotty to dodge, even if you are constantly running it sideways, and they don't do negligible damage. Now I haven't seen my fist only run in a while, but I have a lot more resources for that, like Carol runes, leveling health, and damage stats. I could even have a gun with the passive health regen blood gem, so I can outlast that fight much more. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if my damage in fist only was better than my weapon now. So unfortunately, after a while, I did burn through most of my vials and eventually died. So I took a lighthearted approach for the Century of Humiliation segment of the video, but if I can be real for a moment, I was actually pretty demoralized when doing these runs at that time, and especially after this realization for One Reborn. As I said earlier, even though we had made a new distance PB, outside of just learning new things, it essentially means nothing as we have to start from the beginning. And even if we make it past this boss, there would be more ahead that could be a new obstacle. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the timer, but since the first time I made the hard ghoul, and now, it's been close to 16 hours. 16 hours across 5 separate days, resetting over and over and over, making no progress essentially. And here's another secret that maybe you don't know if you joined in later on in the series, but I started recording this run back in April and May. It was originally going to come right after Elden Ring, and then this happened. At the time I was struggling financially as well, so I couldn't really go without posting a video soon, or that would have been even worse. So I decided to drop Bloodborne at the time, and moved on to do Dark Souls 1, which I knew I could put together pretty quick, and planned on coming back to Bloodborne at a later date. And well, here we are. I figured this would be a good game to finish off the series with. In case you missed it, I actually resumed doing these runs on live streams in this channel about 4 months later, in September, both to make progress more enjoyable and to bounce strategies with a chat as to how to proceed in certain segments. Apologies for my dumb face. Before that though, the very first thing I did was look up a consistent strat for One Reborn on YouTube, as I very much expected it to be something for like a no-hit run and stuff. But no-hit runs have the advantage of having higher damage, so I decided to look at something more specific, so something like no upgrade runs and stuff like that. Turns out that there are no Hunter's Dream runs already, which was perfect. So I chose this one by Shoki, which completely coincidentally was also a no-hit run. I'll certainly take that, and learn how they approached it. And wow, is the strat incredible. Just about what I expected for no-hit runs. So basically you go up in this corner in the back of the room, bait the One Reborn by walking here, then when you see it coming up, you move back down the stairs to remain safe. From there, you can bait it further by walking into this wall, then punish whatever attack it does. There's one attack you have to move away from, and 2 you can punish, but it's pretty free as long as you're careful. You don't even have to worry about the Belt Maidens, just rinse and repeat for a while until it's dead. I did practice this before I did my runs live, but once I got the gist, I jumped right in. As you'll see, I did start out a bit rusty, resulting in my first run dying to Gascoigne, but surprisingly that wouldn't last much longer, as the next run I got up to Vicar Amelia. The one after made it to Shadows of Yharnam, and finally, I did kill Rom once again in run 45, meaning I made it to Hard Ghoul again. I was definitely tense most of the time. The laser stair was a bit scary, but it went smoothly all things considered. In that one infamous room that gave me trouble for a billion years, I just decided to blue elixir, and then raw dog it like I do in casual playthroughs and speedruns. I was definitely overthinking it before when historically just running past like this has worked for me and most people. I popped one more blue elixir for the last segment, and that went great as well. So here we are. Only around 4 hours after returning to this, after 4 months, I was able to get back where I left off, which is certainly a big surprise, but I won't complain for a second. So finally onto One Reborn. As I said, the strat is pretty free as long as you're careful. So I went to the corner, baited the boss, ran to safety briefly, they started wailing on it. You may have noticed they didn't pick up the nitrous as the runner earlier did. I just figured it was to speed up the process, but I didn't want to risk going to get it. There are occasions when you can take damage, and I did take some here and there, but thankfully it's not a one-shot. This process took around 30 minutes, both from having the saw spear and just being extra safe here and there. But after that, I finally defeated One Reborn. So yeah, next up I took the warp to the lecture building. Once I touch Mikolash, I won't be able to return to Yharnam, so I am locked with the number of vials and other resources I have now. I know I'm a bit low on vials, but it's also too dangerous to backtrack, so I went in anyway. Since we're in here now, before heading into Nightmare Mensis, the last optional area we need to address is Nightmare Frontier. Predictably, just as we're stuck in the lecture building in Nightmare Mensis, we'd be extra stuck in Nightmare Frontier if we went there. unable to get back to lecture building. So it's obviously out of the question. Even though we're also stuck in Mensis, at least that's the way to progress into the end of the game. Alright, finally, into said end of the game. I was careful going past this first enemy. The Silveries can kind of jump at you unexpectedly, so I wasn't willing to risk it chasing me. For the next two near the lamp, I just tossed leftover punching cocktails. Then the last one I just ran past. I then ran past the giants. In the spider room, I took the side path and jumped from there for extra safety. Edgar just jumped when he was running at me. I'll take it. And for the last major threat, I used a blue elixir here to get past these ladies. Then I hit the elevator, and that should be good to go for Mikolash. The funny thing is, up until this point, it wasn't until I reached this bridge before him that I thought of something. So was it the first room or the second room? I think the first one, right? Where he has some of the puppets. The first room. Thank you. Yeah, I believe I thought that was correct. Yeah. Ugh, that might actually suck. I didn't even consider that until just now. Yeah, that actually complicates this fight much more than expected. Let me show you how I tackled it. After he went to the room, I vaguely remember him being able to go into the hallway, but didn't remember how. So I just stood awkwardly in the entrance with the puppet in the hallway, which made it extra rough. One of the puppets in the room woke up, unfortunately, and started coming to me. I went back into the hallway and just went ahead and killed this puppet in here while keeping an eye on Mikolash. After killing it, I was trying to lower him again and basically was waiting to get a good opening to pop my buffs because my base damage was pitiful. And I'll admit, much more pitiful than I expected. Eventually, the other puppet came into the hallway, which I welcomed. I'm pretty sure these stay dead an extended time as well, so it helps. After he went away from the other puppet in the room, that's when I popped beast blood pellets. But even this damage wasn't nearly as good as I thought it would be, making me sense that I was in trouble. At least if the puppets weren't here, I could just attack him endlessly while strafing. But alas, they are, and they revive. Ended up having to kill the other puppet, and as soon as I did, the other revived. Then I got to attack Mikolash more for a while, but still not near enough to get to phase 2, even with full beast meter at times. The puppets kept rising up as expected. At some point I was just trying to juggle them, see how that worked, but it did not, and I was running out of vials too. I honestly persisted much longer than expected, getting pretty close to half health, but it was long enough that I eventually got my weapon to being at risk. So the answer is why Tonitrus would be necessary. Unfortunately though, as expected, I did eventually die, just shy of phase 2. As much as this will be disheartening, this was the first day I was attempting runs after the few months away, and I had already planned out several weeks ahead of time to be able to get the run. I had set time aside, so I was okay with this. Either way, a few things to take away. Chat suggested I use poison knives even before I got into the Mikolash boss room the first time. So the next day I did collect poison knives around the world along the way, along with us picking up the Tonitrus given the durability thing, which I did test to see how safe it was to pick up. It was surprisingly fine as long as you quit out. I actually had to pick a different starter class to be able to wield it, being Violent Pest, but it wasn't a huge difference practically, despite slightly lower health, going from 14 vet. I did all this in the very next run, but unfortunately, got a pretty disheartening death. If this had happened pre-break, I would have ended it all. Luckily for me, the very next run I did get back to Mikolash that same day. From here I did try the poison knife strat, and I should have practiced it, or looked it up, because I thought it was a lot more free than it actually was. I was under the impression that just one knife did it, but it turns out it's 3, which you have to throw all in a row, and I was blowing this was the beginning of phase 1, and missing some. And it turns out one poison proc barely does much damage at all. So yeah, I knew pretty quick that the run was doomed. Again, I thought of maybe going to the puppet room to kill them before Mikolash even went in, but even that didn't go very well for me. Yeah, I know, I'm being very careless with this run. But fear not, after this run I actually took time to practice things, and look things up. I will show you now, but I think it's best to just show you in a proper run. So the next day, the week after, I actually didn't get any runs going that first Saturday. I didn't get further than Shadows. But the next day on Sunday, I did make it all the way to Mikolash once more. So here was the battle plan. First I push Mikolash into his room, and then I kill his puppet outside the hallway. Then I lure Mikolash into the hallway, and here I take a moment to attack him with a saw spear, bolt paper, and beast blood pellets. The saw spear is generally better to build up beast meter. I do this until my buff runs out, then I poison him here in phase 1, after he stands still. I poison him one more time after the first one runs out, though unfortunately my wailing early wasn't quite enough to get him down to phase 2, so I do have to hit him a bit more. The puppet had revived by now, so I had to be extra careful. I came back out and only the puppet followed, so I killed it again, then baited Mikolash into the hallway once more, and finished the rest of Mikolash Phase 1. Finally, I have reached Phase 2 for a new distance milestone in an official run. So on our way up, I do pick up these blood vials, and then this next bit requires a bit of setup. I have to chase Mikolash up here, drop down into the final room alone, then go back out. I need to go left here, so I stick to the right. Unfortunately, he doesn't go left, but it's not a problem. We just try again. And where we want him to go left is right here, which thankfully he does. And now we're set. I just make sure I'm safe and nothing's following me, and then we can throw poison knives again. The poison knives only do about a fourth of the remaining health bar, meaning I needed 12 total to start, and I had 14. So I just rinse and repeat the process, and then he's finally down. Thank Abby. The enemies in the boss arena on the way out are thankfully dead, so I had a safe stroll to the lamp area. From there I had a few leftover blue elixirs, so I just popped it here for extra safety, even though this run is pretty simple and safe. I took this shortcut area as a back entrance to avoid the pigs. I popped the last blue elixir to run past the last group of shadows, then quit out near Yarna for safety. I picked up this Yusuf's blood vial for the boss battle, and then I went in. So I will admit that I didn't do any significant practice for Murder's Wet Nurse. The most I did was check what my damage would look like with the Nitrous, and it was about what I expected. The thing about this fight compared to the one Reborn or Mikolash, Unprepared, is that there's not a major gimmick to her, or too much straggling damage. It's a straightforward fight where you can just pick your openings carefully, similarly to Rom, which is what I roughly remember from Fist only. I would get hit here and there, but they don't one-shot me. Otherwise, yeah, this would have sucked a lot more. If you're curious, the Purple Haze attack is definitely a little scary. You certainly can't just run around in circles and be fine 99% of the time, but all it takes is that 1%, especially for a long fight. Thankfully for me, there is actually a way to dodge it. You didn't mishear me. You can dodge the area effect activation. You basically have to dodge at roughly this timing. Usually we dodge twice. Not sure if it's necessary, but I definitely wasn't going to risk it right now. At a good bit past half health, and about 18 minutes into the fight, my Tonitrase became at risk, so I briefly switched to Spear and used the buffs on that for a bit. But after those ran out, I did switch back to Tawny for the bolt, at least until it probably broke, which was at the 30ish minute mark, and not far from Murgo dying. At this point I had taken way more punishment than I would have liked, and was almost out of vials, so I played even more safely than before just to be safe, even though it obviously extends the fight further. But after about 50 minutes... Let's fucking go! Ah! Ah! Fuck, dude. Oh, I'm so tired. Fuck. What a nightmare of a run. Never fucking do this to yourself. Another reason I was confident this would go well was that this is one of the only bosses in the Soulsborne series which I have first tried in my first playthrough, so I always had a knack for her. I also had a bit planned where my beard would grow the more I did the runs live, but unfortunately I did it in 2 weeks. However, even though I did beat the final boss to at least get the 80% ending, do you recall where the actual endings of the game take place? Yeah. We now need to make it to the Hunter's Dream, but we're not allowed to use lamps, so I guess Bloodborne can't truly be beat without fast traveling after all. Just kidding, we can just die now. I got you, didn't I? But that's also assuming that the scripted death warp isn't overridden for some reason. So... let's fucking go. You can beat Bloodborne without fast travel. Let's fucking go. Ah, that's so satisfying. Like, I'm fine if you couldn't. I'll still do the... Oh, it's on fire too. Holy shit. Yeah, you don't get to see this very often, do you? It's already on fucking fire. Dude, this is your proof. If you get that. Red cutscene. Yeah, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that as a clip. And here's my overall proof. I haven't hit this at all. The only one is the mandatory one you get here. The first room. I think this is the moon site. Yeah, Moonside Lake. And then nothing here. Nothing here. Here's that clip I saved while I'll talk a little bit. It is still true that if we died before this point, our run would have been over, because that meant that we'd have to take a land back to Yharnam. But if we don't need to return to Yharnam, what if we simply save the one scripted death we had to make our way to the Hunter's Dream? That is the true reason we needed to be deathless until now. And pardon the pun, but it worked out like a dream. We get to stay true to the no lamp rule and still reach the credits. Because let me be clear, I still would have made this video even if this didn't truly count and we just had to warp back for whatever reason. But it is admittedly miles more satisfying that this worked out, validating the whole run. If you are observant and understand the game well, you might have picked up on this hint at the beginning. The scripted death warp to the dream in itself is fine. The problem lies in that once we're in the dream, we are forced to fast travel if we wish to make our way back to Yharnam, which is out of the question. Given you do start in Yharnam when you first make your character, it does give hope that there is a chance to complete the game without fast travel. And well, if you understood the plan since then, without me telling you, well done. Honestly, not only was this nicely paved for us, it's also the first time I've entered the Hunter's Dream in this manner. And imagine most of you haven't either, so I hope you're seeing this for the first time as well. Also, it looks like I bugged the music by doing this. Wait, is there no music? Up to the music. Wait, what? Did I break the music by feet? What happened? I'm pretty sure something still plays here, even if the... Or does it? Alright, anyway, doesn't matter. Now that we're here, nothing is stopping us from fighting Gehrman, and even the Moon Presence. There are exactly 3 chords that we could still get, and I secretly got during the runs. The Workshop one when we dropped down after Bloodstar Beast, of course the Wet Nurse one we just got, and the Fake Yusefka one, which I went to grab after the warp back to Cathedral Ward following the Rom fight, which I've been heading until now. This was nice from a traversal standpoint, because after Rom you're put in the Cathedral Ward, so I just had to go little into Forbidden Woods to go through the back path of the clinic. Though sometimes I'd opened up the clinic route earlier if I found I desperately needed Valis even before Rom, which is what I did in this run as well. One of the only major organic connections between completely separate areas in the game. And one of the things I was referring to at the beginning, when I was referring to this game being connective tissue between Dark Souls 1 and 3. As this feels like a small little bit of Dark Souls 1 cleverness showing through, but due to the warping it's definitely not as useful as the shortcut would have been in Dark Souls 1. The only coordinate accessible to us is Ariana's, since that only logs after beating Wet Nurse, and by then we're stuck in the Nightmare's Menses, or in the dream like we are now. But either way, we have all the 3 we need, and I'll pop them now. Of course, Sneaky Me did also collect the Workshop tool, Blood Gems, and some upgrade materials along the way, so I upgraded and put gems on my Saw Spear. The cherry on top, however, is that now that we're here, we can level up by selling some things, as I did unfortunately lose my blood echoes to get here, and we don't have to worry about dying anymore. And, last thing I haven't mentioned, America, baby! Alright, we're ready for the final bosses. Having higher levels, weapon upgrades, even if they're not plus 10, and due to my ability to parry, this fight definitely goes much smoother than anything since like Bloodstarved. Now I did say I can comfortably die now, but in the spirit of the run, I'm gonna try to stay Oh. As I said, we can die now, so it's fine. Anyway, after totally not having a few more deaths, I did get Gehrman down. So only Moon Presence to go. Thankfully this one can be parried, so I don't have to rely on the already limited amount of bullets, and my damage alone was already good enough. From getting an edge with the limb breaks, the 1 HP attack, etc. And despite literally running a 1 blood vial left from the start, I was able to get her down in my first attempt, capping off a full completed run that we completed without fast traveling at about 4 hours total. So, that's it. Single-handedly the most grueling challenge I've ever done, and that's taking into account the fact that I have done the level 4 and Soul level 1 for most Souls games, fist only of this game as I said, and that I've done a no-hit run or 2, and did full-time speedrunning of many of the games in the series at one point. But thankfully this one ends with a successful no fast travel run, and it only took 41 collective hours of constant resets. Even Shoki's run I showed earlier just ends in the Murgos Wet Nurse area, so I actually wasn't sure if that would work, and I was genuinely surprised. I didn't really borrow any other stress from that video, just the one reborn one. The rest are planned by my chat and myself, or just improvised, like with Wet Nurse. But of course, go check out Shiku's run to watch a no-hit run of something similar to this. If you want to watch more no-fast travel videos, as mentioned at the beginning, I have the whole Modern FromSoft lineup ahead of this, so you can watch them all in the playlist in the top right corner, or at the end screen. If you'd like to see the full successful attempt, be it for proof or just to see the entirety of it, it is saved on my live tab. I will also link it now. Speaking of which, if you're interested, I also made a members only video where I go over my successful run and break down the strats I formed across those 40 hours. Consider it behind the scenes where I actually do explain things, because as I go through the live run, I don't always explain things directly. I'm just locking in, you know? My memberships are only $1 and you can cancel them at any time when you want. But I appreciate you just watching all the way through and the support all the last few months for this series. As a small treat to y'all for sticking around to the end, I've compiled all my deaths for a little highlight reel right here at the end. Enjoy. Oh, and if you're wondering whether I would recommend you do a run like this yourself, no, what's wrong with you?
No. Where did you come from? What the fuck? The fuck?
No. Oh my god. No! Are you kidding me? Fuck, dude.
I should think you still have dreams. But the next time you dream, there's some wrong.
No! Come on. Fuck.
God fucking damn it, these guys are so annoying. Yep. Was about time. God damn it. I just want to get past fucking shadows again. What the? Why? Why? I was right in fucking front of you. Are you serious? What the? What the fuck is wrong with you? God fucking damn it. That's my bad. No! Fuck me, dude! Ah. God damn it. Oh! God damn it.
Too proud to show your true face, eh? What a sporting hunted.
Oh my god. No! Dick. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Fuck this game. What the fuck? Come on. No, fuck. Well, that was kind of bad read on my part. Kind of my bad, but still annoying. Alright, cool. Pick up tomorrow. No. Oh my god, dude. God fucking damn it. Are you kidding me? So much for coming in with a fresh head and stuff. Are you still being a fucking asshole? God damn it. Pieces of shit wouldn't even give me a fucking break, dude. What happened to my roll, bitch? Fuck. No. Okay, that was just me being bad. Fuck. Yeah, I'm not gonna do this, bro. Holy shit. Either that, I need to be extra careful. Oh my god. Okay. Alright, as I was saying. Man, I really wish I had a regen. That alone would be so helpful. I mean, I'll probably get me get greedy though, or stingy. You know what? I don't know if this challenge is for me. I didn't think it would be this bad. Nice. Motherfucker just decided to swing there. Okay, thanks. Great. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of sort of saw that coming, but I was not in a great spot, was I? Yeah. Oh, what the fuck? That's a first. Okay, that was a bad call on my part. Jesus Christ. Yo, looks good, man. Thank you. Yeah, after popular demand, I did bring back horizontals. Hello? Appropriate that we're talking about this in the game where you inject period blood into yourself. That might give you a thing or two. I don't know. What happens if Ebritas gets menopause? Is everyone just doomed? Let's fucking go! Ah! Well, at least we get to try as much as we want. That's so fucking annoying. That was a lot faster than I thought it was. I thought I got like 3 hits or something. Good start. Very good start. I mean, hey, I haven't used any resource. Maybe I'll just do that. Really? That was a little worse than I thought it would be.